after we left Bixby. We'd gone, I don't know how many miles, a few miles out of Bixby. That's when I pulled the gun on him and told him I was going to take his car away from him. Well, like I said, it was my intention to tie the man up, and I had the gun on him. We were marched him down a footpath there towards the river. This was about 100, 150 yards from the river. And I was walking behind him and slightly to his left. And he kept protesting that he had to get back in Tulsa for some kind of 6:30 appointment of some kind, instructions or something. And he seemed more worried about this than he was about me hurting.
Yeah.
And he stopped. He balked once and turned around and kept protesting about wanting to having to get back to Tulsa. And finally, I kept threatening him, and he went on. And we hadn't gone but just a few feet when he balked again. And like I said, I was walking behind him and slightly to his left, just 2, 3, 4 feet behind him. And the second time he balked, when he turned around, why his hand or his arm hit the gun. And I just jumped back, you know, like just reflex action, and at the same time pulled the trigger. And the bullet hit him right above the left ear and lodged in the skull above the right ear. But the story that came out about his hands being bound and being shot through the back of the head, that's untrue. All you'd have to do is check the court records and find that out.
And your contention is that you did intend to tie him up, but all you were going to do is leave him.
Yes, there was never any intent. The last thing in my mind was to hurt the man. I never had any intentions of hurting the man. Never hurt anybody before in my life.
Has your dissatisfaction with the way things have turned out, has this caused you to become bitter now?
Oh, no. I don't think anyone in my position has a right to feel bitter about anything, because after all, I am guilty of a pretty terrible crime.
That's what the next thing I was going to ask you. How do you look on a crime like that?
Well, no one could condone what I did. Like I say, if just the true facts of the thing make it a terrible crime.
Pete, how much chance do you place on the verdict of the U.S. Supreme Court to save you?
Well, it's gone a little far for anything to come out in my favor, I'll say. I don't have very good chance.
Pete, do you feel that everybody's deserted you now, that you're down here and waiting for the chair?
No, I'm pretty fortunate in that respect. Most of my relatives have stuck by me, and then I've got a lot of friends that have stuck with me too.
Are you afraid to face death, Pete?
No more than the average. Naturally, the thought of death scares me a little bit, but I've pretty well resigned myself to the thing. My life is just as dear to me as it is to you, but if I have to die, I have to die. All of us have to die sometime. And after all, I'm guilty of a crime, so I can't complain.
Pete, in your own opinion, do you think you had a normal childhood?
Well, no, I don't think you could call my childhood normal. Up until I was 12 years old, I had mother, father. My mother died when I was 12.
How do you think, other than this parental lack that you had, how do you think your childhood differed from anybody else's as you look back on it?
Well, I don't think my childhood differed from the normal up until I was around 12, until my mother died. Up until that time, I had a fairly normal childhood. Where you live?
Everybody gets into a fist fight once in a while. Did you ever have any problems with the boys at school?
No more than average.
Yeah. Had the usual run of ice cream cones and school parties and such, I guess, while you were in the younger grades?
Yeah.
How far did you get in school, Pete?
Well, I completed the 8th grade, started the 9th, and never did finish it. Never did finish the 9th grade.
What prevented this?
Well, I just went out on my own. Went to work. Much like I said, I led a pretty normal childhood up until that time. I never really became belligerent or rebelled until about a year or so after my mother died. That's when I first started rebelling against my father and against everything else.
What made you leave home, Pete? You said you wanted to get away.
Well, I never did get along with my father too well, and well, I didn't leave home till I was 14. But like I say, I just never did get along with my father too well.
Why?
Well, my father is, now don't get me wrong, my father is, he's a wonderful man, but he's pretty harsh on discipline, and, well, to him, black is black and white is white. There's no in-between, and him and I just never could see eye to eye.
When he said something, he expected you to do it the first time, then.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think maybe you wouldn't have had this rebellious feeling if he had been a little less strict?
Well, of course, it'd be hard to speculate on something like that, but maybe.
What was the first trouble you ever got into? How did this happen?
Well, the first run-in I ever had was in California in 1944.
What happened then?
Well, I was arrested for burglary and car theft. Another kid and I ran away from home and went to California, and we got into trouble out there.
Why did you pull this burglary and steal the car?
Well, it'd be hard to answer why.
I mean, did you need the money at the time?
Well, I thought I did at the time, naturally.
How many times did you get in trouble then, Pete, after this first case in California?
Well, like I said a while ago, about 4 times. I've got 4 previous arrests before this.
What were they for?
Burglary, car theft,
Yeah.
and robbery once.
Other than this one case of robbery you just mentioned, had you ever pulled a gun on anybody before?
Well, yes. I've used...
Never shot them?
Oh, no. I've never hurt anyone before this happened.